All right, good morning. We enjoyed a good roundtable this morning and looking forward to a great meeting. We've got a packed agenda this morning. I don't know if you're seeing my screen, and I don't want to get everybody started on a downer on this busy, crazy day, but I did want to share a Benny Lau article, at least the beginnings of it, that Benny sent out. Of course, Benny's retired now, so he can send these things out and make you all feel even better or worse. I'm not sure which, but he says, we did this article out, the worst job in education right now is the superintendents faced with extremely difficult choices. And it says the superintendent's job is a tough one on a good day, but you're facing some very difficult trade-offs. And I just want to encourage you this morning and thank you for being here with us. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Kirk Biggerstaff, and he will lead the way on this November 4th, 2020 GRREC board meeting. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Bart. Appreciate that. I want to welcome everyone to our November 4th GRREC board meeting. Obviously, we are in some challenging times. There's lots of uncertainty around us, but I'm glad to be with you all this morning. As we begin our meeting, I want to ask everyone to make sure that you mute your microphone if you've not done so already. Also, when we do the motions, let's go ahead and someone speak up quickly on that so there's not this awkwardness waiting on the motions. When we get into the action items, state your name and your motion, and then when I say all in favor, everybody can raise their hand or give some kind of nod or something to know that you've given approval on that. So the first thing we'll start off with is our roll call. Adair County, Pam Stevens. Allen County, Travis Hamby.
I'm here.
Barron County, Bo Matthews. Bowling Green, Gary Fields.
I'm here, Kirk.
Breckenridge County, Nick Carter.
I'm here, Kirk.
Butler County, Robert Tuck. Campbellsville, Kirby Smith. Caverna, Cornelius Faulkner.
Here.
Christian County, Chris Bensel. Clinton County, Tim Parson.
Here.
Cloverport, Keith Haynes.
I'm here.
Crittenden County, Vince Clark. Davis County, Matt Robbins. Dawson Springs, Lenny Whalen.
Here.
Edmondson County, Brian Alexander.
President accounted for, sir.
Elizabethtown, Kelly Bush.
Here.
Glasgow, Keith Hale. Grayson County, Doug Robinson. Greene County, Will Hodges.
I'm here.
Hancock County, Kyle Estes. Hardin County, Terry Morgan.
Here.
Hart County, Nathan Smith.
Present, Kirk.
Henderson County, Morgana Stanley.
Here.
Hopkins County, Deanna Ashby. LaRue County, David Raleigh.
Here.
Logan County, Paul Mullins.
Here.
Marion County, Talora Slosser. McLean County, Tommy Burris.
Here.
Meade County, Mark Martin.
Here.
Metcalfe County, Josh Hurt.
Yeah, I'm here.
Monroe County, Amy Thompson.
Here.
Muhlenberg County, Robert Davis. Nelson County, West Bradley. Ohio County, Seth Southard.
Here.
Owensboro, Matthew Constant.
Here.
Russell County, Michael Ford. Russellville, Leon Smith.
Here.
Science Hill, Jimmy Diehouse. Simpson County, Foster.
Present.
Taylor County. Todd County, Mark Thomas.
Present.
Union County, Patricia Sheffer.
Here.
Warren County, Rob Clayton.
Here.
Webster County, Rhonda Calloway.
Present, Kirk.
WKU, Corinne Murphy.
Dean Murphy is here. This is Stephanie Martin saying it for her. She's having some trouble on her phone, but she's here.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that from everyone. Now moving on to approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Who was that? State your name when you do that.
Matthew Constant, so moved.
Thank you, Matthew. I need a second.
Paul Mullins, second.
I've got a second. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Motion approved. Now we'll go to the approval of consent items. On attachment number 1, you will see minutes from the September 2nd, 2020 board meeting. I need a motion to approve those.
So moved. Seth Southard, Ohio County.
Thank you, Seth. I need a second.
Second, Tim
Second.
Parson, Clinton County.
Thank you, Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Attachment number 2, it's the financial statement as of September 30th, 2020. I need a motion to approve the financial statement.
David Raleigh, LaRue County. I make a motion to approve.
Thanks, David. I need a second.
Kelly Bush, I second.
Thanks, Kelly. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Attachment number 3, payment of bills as of October 30th, 2020. I need a motion to pay the bills.
Motion, Butler County. Robert Tuck.
Thanks, Robert. I need a second.
Second, Bo from Barron.
Thanks, Bo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. In our 4th attachment, we have notification of bills that have been paid as of October 30th. I need a motion to approve this item.
Make a motion, Lenny Whalen, Dawson Springs.
Thanks, Lenny. I need a second.
Patricia Sheffer, second.
Thanks, Patricia. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. And now we'll hand it over to Ms. Shay Rogers, who will introduce our guests with us.
Thank you, Dr. Bitterstaff. Stephanie Martin from WKU, Terry Salyer, Energy Optimizers USA, Dr. Nick Brake, WKU Doctoral Program in Educational Leadership, Eric Kennedy, KSBA, Butch Canty, Baird, Dr. Margarita Sander, WKU, Mitch Crump, RSA Advisors, Wilson Sears, Performance Services, Chris Tyler, Thermal Equipment Sales and KSPMA, Bob Tarbin, RSA Advisors, Matt McCarty, KSBA, Joe Roberts, Roberts Insurance, Ruth Webb, First Kentucky Securities Corporation, Fred Carter, KASA, Stephanie Martin, oh, Stephanie, I have you on here twice, Rhonda Caldwell, Kentucky Association of School Administrators, Paula Hendrick is Houchins Insurance Group. If we've missed anyone, just feel free to put your name in the chat box and we'll make sure that that gets in on the list. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Shane. We do certainly want to welcome all of our guests to our meeting. Now we're going to hand it over to Mr. Bart Fleener, who will be discussing action items by discussion.
Thank you, Kirk. Attachment number 5 is something in agreement for external evaluation services with one of our grants. Have that approved.
Bart, we can barely hear you. I don't know if your microphone is muffled or.
All right. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, great. May have had some stuff, papers covering it up there. Attachment 5 is an agreement for evaluation services for one of our grants. We would ask for approval on that. I can give more information if needed, but we are ready to have that approved.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the project.
So moved, Seth Southern.
Thank you, Seth. I need a second.
Second, Michael Ford, Russell County.
Thanks, Michael. Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is attachment 6, a job description we would ask for approval for from Dr. Kelly Davis, our Exceptional Education Early Childhood Education Services Director. It is the position of Director of Special Education Mentor. Our past person has retired, and this person would serve to help new special ed directors. This would be a part-time position, and they would go and help new special ed directors within the GRREC region. So we ask for approval of that job description.
Need a motion to approve the special ed mentor job description.
Matthew Constant, so moved.
Thanks, Matthew. I need a second.
David Raleigh, a second.
Thanks, David. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Now attachment number 7.
Both attachments 7 and 8 relate to a grant that we have received. We haven't sent out details on this because we don't have all the details yet, but it's from the Department of Justice, and Tara Thomas, our grant writer, wrote it back in spring, and we just got notice a couple weeks ago. There'll be some more details, but 2 of the positions that come from the grant is called STAR. That is School Threat Assessment and Anonymous Reporting Grant Program. So that's a safety grant. We'll be able to hire a portion of a project coordinator and a portion of a project director. The coordinator has to have safety law enforcement background. The director does not necessarily have to have a law enforcement background, could be a former educator or current educator that would be interested in that job, but we need to get these descriptions approved so that we can get them posted and begin to think about hiring in the next couple of months.
Okay, Bart, do we need 2 different motions on that, or can we do it as one?
Since they're 2 different attachments, but attachment 7 is simply approval of the STAR grant project coordinator description.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the STAR project coordinator job description.
Cornelius Faulkner, so move.
Thank you, Cornelius. Need a second.
Lenny Whalen, second.
Thanks, Lenny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And attachment number 8 is approval of the STAR project director job description. I need a motion to approve the director description.
Kelly Bush, motion.
Thanks, Kelly. Need a second.
Nathan Smith, second.
Thanks, Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Moving along, we absolutely are thrilled to have our new commissioner, Jason Glass, with us today to be presenting KDE updates. And now we'll turn it over to Jason Glass. Welcome. Do we know if he's online, Bart?
Great question. I just asked Ann. I'm looking on all 3. I have 3 pages worth of participants. I do not see Dr. Glass presently.
So on the chat, he's on the WKEC call right now.
I
don't think Dr. Glass is with us yet.
Okay, we'll move along. Do we want to go ahead and start hearing from our legislators, Bart?
That would be fine. If we have told them they would be on at 10:30, so they may not all be logged in.
Okay, well, why don't we move along to your executive director report, Bart?
Perfect. Be glad to do that. Ann, if you could reach out in the meantime. Joe, if you would check on Dr. Glass, and then Ann, if you could reach out to legislators and tell them they might be on a little early.
All right.
So Bart, are you going to go ahead with the executive director report?
Yes, let me see if I can get that up on the screen here.
Thanks.
All right, is everybody able to see my screen? Kirk, is that showing?
Yes, it's
Okay.
good.
I shared some of these in the board roundtable discussion, so I won't belabor them, but I do want to start by updating you on our org chart. I would be remiss if I did not congratulate our newest GRREC team member as of October 26th, 2020. We have hired Dan Costello, former Rich Pond Elementary principal, former South Warren Middle School assistant principal, and former Warren East ag teacher and FFA sponsor. And we are so glad to have him join us as our General Education Services Director. He'll be overseeing GRREC Ed, which is a big, obviously, initiative for us that I'll talk more about in a few minutes. But I wanted to show you the org chart, give you those updates. We've told you that Dr. Kelly Davis is taking on the new title of Exceptional Education Early Childhood Services Director. And then we still have our other fabulous staff in those other roles at the top. And so that's an update on our org chart for everyone. Welcome, Dan, to the team. I share this one with you. I just want you to stay encouraged, but I want you to know that we know just how challenging your job is. If you weren't on the round table, I just wanted to commend you. We shared this Wayne Young quote earlier, act reasonably based on sound information, but the information seems to keep changing. But I continue to be impressed by your connection to your school community factions, all those folks out there that you're trying to work with, communicate with, from parents, students, teachers, health officials, civic and government leaders, and the great and clear explanations you're providing when you do make a decision and you communicate those decisions. I thought a great point in the roundtable was that we be able to support each other as superintendents and whatever those decisions are. They may be different even within a local community, or even certainly counties that border each other may make two different decisions, but both those superintendents are making the decision based on the metrics that they are adhering to and communicating with. And I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I just want to make sure you know that we believe that. Update on GRREC crisis response teams. You'll be getting an email from Ann Burden maybe even this afternoon, just updating you on GRREC crisis response teams. Those of you that have experience as a superintendent, you know about our GRREC crisis response teams. They've been in effect since around 2000. Dr. Nancy Bertolite was a former lead on this effort. We're proud to announce that Linda Tyree, retired counselor in Butler County Schools, will be leading this effort going forward. We will send you an agreement, and in that agreement, it basically says these are the things you will get as participating in the GRREC crisis response teams, and then there'll be some things we would ask you, which is we recruit members to join our team. If we can do that, we'll send you that agreement, and Ann will give you instructions on signing and getting it back. Next Thursday is the 26th annual GRREC Law Conference. That is going to be virtual. It is going to be from 8:30 to 11:30 Central Standard Time. Topics and presenters are listed there. Excited to have Regina and Mike, Dr. Glass once again, Wayne Young, and then Kevin Brown, former interim commissioner and back in his role as general counsel for Jefferson County Schools. Shelley from Fayette County Schools and Michael Shelton, and they're going to be presenting on student speech, diversity, and social justice. We have a link to that. If you want to click and sign up for that, that'd be wonderful. We've also talked about this. I won't belabor the point, but our GRREC ELPO Title IX training is next Thursday and Friday. I'm going to share this presentation with you, so I'm not going to take the time to go through these slides right now. Just know that that is next Thursday and Friday. Many of you have already signed up. If you have questions, I can be glad to communicate with you further later, text or call or email, and I'll be glad to go through it with you. There are also links to register for the training. Right now, we still have an in-person option for next Thursday afternoon and Friday morning, which is when the conference will take place, the training will take place, sorry. And if you want to sign up for either one of those links are there as well. Favorite part of the job so far has been getting to see you in action. I love it. I've been to 33 of the 45 districts, 12 to go, trying to get those scheduled in November and December. I ask a series of questions to everybody that I visited when we got to those questions. What has COVID done to me in our district, and what has it done for me in our district? And I got a lot of revealing answers, a lot of commonalities. I just, again, want to remind you that you are not alone in this. It may feel like that sometime as the lone superintendent in your district, but you have colleagues that are going through the same challenges. I just encourage you to continue to connect with them and connect with us, and anything that I can do for you, I'd be glad to do so. On the grants front, we have received the STAR grant. I mentioned that earlier with the approval of the job descriptions. We'll get you more information on that as it comes along. There are 2 grants that KDE has going right now, the 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant and the Comprehensive Literacy Striving Readers grant. As always, GRREC, we are available to assist you at any time you want help with applications. We won't be able to write the grants for you, but Tara is great at reading behind and providing input and feedback. And if you want a work session, if we have several districts want to get together and do a work session on striving readers, we'd be glad to host one of those. Our early childhood and special ed teams have already assisted multiple GRREC districts as you complete the Kentucky Comprehensive Literacy, aka Striving Readers Grant, by sending evidence forms to help you with your grant applications. I just want to give you an update on those things. Our GRREC December board meeting will be December 16th. Hopefully it will be hybrid once again. We long for the days we can have everybody here. We know that hybrid is probably better than virtual, and in person is probably better than hybrid, but hopefully we'll be able to be back hybrid in December. We usually celebrate with our retired superintendents at this time. We are not going to invite them for many and various reasons. We are going to send them a thank you card with a gift card so they can enjoy breakfast on us, but we do not anticipate bringing them in person to GRREC in December the 16th unless something significant changes. We also hope to have some legislators who couldn't be with us today to be joining us on December the 16th. And that is all I have for you on the executive director's report. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the share at this point. I will be sharing this presentation with you if you need access to it.
Thank you, Bart. We appreciate that information. Also appreciate your leadership in your new role. We all think you're doing a great job in that new capacity. And I also want to note that as a superintendent, I appreciate Tara Thomas and her grant writing and giving us information about upcoming grants. I share that with my folks in my district. She sends out an email. I don't know if all the superintendents are on it or not, but she sends out an email that lists all these different grant opportunities available, and we really appreciate that information. So I want to shout out to her as well. If Rhonda Caldwell is with us with KASA, we will transition to her report. Rhonda, are you with us?
I am with you, Kirk. Give me just a second here to get my camera up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me go first. You should be receiving a text message from KASA, or perhaps you already have, that will give you all of the information. But this morning, I would just like to remind everyone that we have 3 regional meetings coming up that impacts, I think, every superintendent there at GRREC today. And we have one coming up November the 5th. No, actually, that one's been postponed. We have one November the 6th, which is our River Region meeting. And that is being hosted there by Dr. Nick Carter from Breckinridge County, and he can speak to that. And then November the 13th is our Heartland Regional meeting, and that is hosted by Tim Isaacs of Hardin County. And it's the Hardin County area, and then the area around Breckinridge. And we have made flipped these meetings to virtual for the same reason you have, totally virtual, and we're really working hard on engagement. So rather than looking at it just as another Zoom experience, we're going to ask you to come, bring your teams, and be prepared to have some fun. You'll have legislative conversations. We'll work hard not to repeat whatever you have today. And each meeting also has a 30-minute presentation with Mr. Larry Bell or Beth Hoff. So 2 great presentations. And then Mr. Joe Carter from iStation is actually helping us host and is doing some fabulous giveaways with $100 gift certificates. So grateful to him for that. And that's it for roadmap call is also coming up on November the 13th. And we're going to have special ed presentation as well as talking about student achievement. If students aren't, if they're struggling virtually, what are some options, things that we can do to help them? And then another item on the agenda is how red are you? And how are you approaching the status of your school districts? Are you barely red or are you very red? And so we've got calendar invites on all of these going out, but really want to ask you guys to support us and participate. Let me know what I can do to help make it easy for you. And thank you for being part of KASA. We have 100% membership from superintendents, and we're incredibly grateful to you for that.
Rhonda, I like that. I like that catchy title. How red are you? It's like that. The guy used to get on the radio and he said, "How big a boy are you? I'm about to come down there myself," you know? So that's a good one. I like it. Dr. Biggerstaff, we have Dr. Glass on. You do the agenda however you want to, but Dr. Glass is on. And then I do see a few of our legislators on as well. If you want to go back to.
Okay, we can transition back to that. We are happy to have our new commissioner with us, Jason Glass. So we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Glass.
Thanks, Kirk. Thanks, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Excellent. Thanks so much. Kirk, how much time do I have with you?
However much time you want.
Okay, I don't know about that, but I'll try and be brief because I think that's what I want and what everybody will want. Well, just a couple of updates. First, from the election perspective, I know that lots of us are sleepy, bleary-eyed this morning, and we're going to have to stay in this state of waiting to see what happens at the federal level. But at the state level, the Republicans increased their super majorities in our legislature. So I know that they're meeting, I think in December, to talk about committee structure and both on the education side and on the finance and budget side. So we'll see what decisions are made in terms of those committees, and then start working to establish relationships with any new legislators that are coming into those roles. We want to make sure that we maintain those positive relationships with our legislators, and that those lines of communication remain open. But not a lot of seismic change in Kentucky when it comes to education at the federal level. It's looking like the Republicans are going to hang on to a majority in the Senate, and that will, of course, mean that Senator McConnell will remain in that important position of power, representing Kentucky in the Senate. And then perhaps of greater impact when it comes to education, the presidential race is still up in the air. That's going to determine who the Secretary of Education is going to be. If it turns out to be President Trump continuing on, then we may see a continuation with Secretary DeVos if she chooses to remain on beyond this first term. And so we should honestly probably expect more of the same when it comes to policy advocacy and positions that she's taken and that the U.S. Department of Education has taken over the past 4 years. If it ends up being Vice President Biden prevailing in the presidential race, we'll, of course, see a change in who is the U.S. Secretary of Education. I think that's going to come down to a choice that he will have to make around pressures from groups like the NEA, which is a national extension of KEA, AASA, other national education advocacy groups that are traditionally supporting public education, that will ask for someone with a deep education background, someone that's a supporter of public education. And Vice President Biden has talked about putting a teacher into that role. It's not clear if he meant that's a serving teacher or someone who has been a teacher, but someone who has deep education experience, I think was the goal. So that's one path we may see the Biden administration go down. Another will be pressure from education reform groups like the Democrats for Education Reform or other equity focused groups to appoint a Secretary of Education, similar in policy frame as we saw with Secretary Arne Duncan. So the same sort of approach that we saw there. So I think that's going to be an important conversation. If we end up with a Biden presidency, there will be that change at the U.S. Department of Education with the Secretary, and we'll all have to see how that turns out. Moving beyond election conversations into things that we're remain focused on here in Kentucky and at KDE, and that I'm focused on. One is continuing to support our districts through COVID and what that looks like. As we talked on our call last week, I do think we're entering into a new phase of managing this. And again, I hope you heard it, but please hear it again from me. Great appreciation for the work that all of you have done in putting in place virus mitigation strategies that so far have been very effective at keeping schools safe places for learning. We're not seeing large-scale outbreaks at schools. We're not seeing transmissions occurring at schools, and that's not by accident. An RNA virus like COVID is an incredibly infectious disease that spreads really easily. So the fact that we are not seeing that in schools is evidence that our virus mitigation strategies are being effective. With that said, we are seeing exponential growth. We may be seeing exponential growth in terms of the virus in our communities. That's going to put all the more pressure on schools because the greater its presence in the community, the greater the probability it's going to show up in school and pressure your virus mitigation strategies. And then, of course, as you have greater community transmissions, you have more students that you're ending up having to quarantine because they have it or they've come in contact with it, more staff members, and that's disruptive at a classroom level, at a school level, at a district level. So I think looking ahead, we should expect more disruption until and if we can get the virus transmissions under control in our communities. But kudos and hats off for the work that all of you are doing, whatever structure that looks like in managing the virus in your schools. We hired a chief equity officer and deputy commissioner, Thomas Woods Tucker, started this week at the Kentucky Department of Education. I'm excited for you to get to meet Dr. Woods Tucker and the work that we'll be doing around anti-racism and equity. Dr. Woods Tucker was a National Superintendent of the Year, so we're incredibly fortunate to have a talent like that come and work at the Kentucky Department of Education. I'm excited for you to get to meet him and work with him. And then the last sort of priority that we've been working with presently has been managing potential budget reductions. We were asked for an 8% reduction. We've sent back a plan for meeting that reduction, exempting some things out of that that I think were reasonable exemptions from that 8% request. But so far we haven't been asked to execute that. And it's sort of no news is good news at this point. So we'll have to continue to monitor how the current budget looks for the state. Everyone I know is concerned about impacts of COVID on budget and what state revenue looks like. And I know that in-year cuts are disruptive, but also know that we have exempted SEEK funding from any reductions this year. We've exempted payments for health insurance for employees from reductions this year. And in our response back to the state budget office, we also requested exemptions for preschools, for career technical ATC center funding. So all in an effort to protect those funds that provide direct services to students first. So we'll go after reductions in other places before, but we're working on trying to make very as little disruption to teaching and learning in your districts as possible as we work to navigate that. But we'll see what happens. And then, of course, going into next year, I know you got some legislators on that will have to wrestle with what the budget looks like for next year and going forward. They can give you more insight than I can on that, but some of it will depend on what the economy is doing in the state and what's going to be available. Some of it may depend on what happens in Congress in terms of, is there going to be additional federal support for COVID to offset some of our losses or not? That I think is still very much up in the air even after election night. We'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. Looking ahead, I'm excited about a conversation that I think we will get to if we can all survive this election and all survive the COVID and whatever the next apocalypse that we've got coming down the line on us. I want us to get to a discussion around what our aspirations are for the future of education in Kentucky. I think that's an exciting conversation. I think it's something that we can look forward to once COVID isn't ruling our lives like the way it is now. We will get to that place. We have, excuse me, distributed that keep, stop, start survey, and I would ask that all of you take part in that and distribute it to your communities. We want more people taking part in that as a beginning to that discussion around what are our long-term aspirations for where education should go in Kentucky. So please take part in that and know that we've got lots more engagement and conversation to come around that. Kirk, let me turn things back over to you. I've talked more than I wanted to, and see if there's any questions that folks have or feedback or any conversation that we want to have. And I'll defer to you, Kirk, on how much time you want to spend on this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Does anyone have any questions for the commissioner? People are a little bit more reluctant when it's virtual to speak up.
We're all sleepy. We stayed up all night.
Yeah, long night. Absolutely. We appreciate you, Commissioner Glass. I speak on behalf of the GRREC region when I say that we think you're doing a great job in your new position, and we're glad to have you back in Kentucky. Thank
you, Kirk. I'll stay on for a few minutes in case anybody has a question or really a comment, something that you just want to let me know. We can raise that up, and I'm happy to just listen. I found that to be the most effective thing that I can do, especially coming into this new role. So I'll stick around for a bit, but turn things back over to you for wherever you want to take the meeting next. All right. Thank you again. We do have some legislators with us who want to share some thoughts, and we're happy to have them with us. Senator Whitney Westerfield is online. I see him there. So Senator Westerfield, do you want to take the stage now?
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, and I appreciate the invitation to speak for just a minute. The commissioner, who, by the way, I haven't had a chance to meet, so Commissioner Glass, look forward to meeting you. I'm not on the education committee, so it's not something that we would have already usually run into one another. And we've had something else keeping us apart, all of us here for the last 9 months. So I look forward to meeting you come January, if not before. The commissioner really hit on the biggest issues that are coming up. We all had an unprecedented exercise this year with COVID. And in the legislature, we only passed a one-year budget. We've got the other half of the budget to pass. And I haven't seen any new revenue numbers or projections. Perhaps some of the other legislators may have. I know there are others that are in leadership that represent GRREC school districts and counties that are either in leadership or on the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. They may have a better idea or sense about it than I do. They don't let us mess with that in the Senate Judiciary Committee very much. But once we know what our revenue projections look like, and we know what kind of money we're dealing with and how much of a hit we've experienced, and there's no corner of the Commonwealth that's been left untouched and undevastated by the COVID crisis, the pandemic, and the subsequent shutdowns and restrictions and so forth, many of which I'm not sure we could have avoided. So there's a lot of unknowns still. There are other things on the agenda for 21. In the education world, I know Chairman Max Wise has spent almost all the interim, perhaps not all of it, but almost every interim meeting for the judiciary, or for the Education Committee, dealing with schools' responses to COVID and how we're coping with that, how everyone is making the various decisions to be virtual, to be in person, or some combination of the two. And now that we see COVID on the rise back again, districts are having to grapple with that, and boards are having to make difficult decisions about whether or not they're keeping students in school or not. And obviously, and you all know this, but that's got to be balanced with data that we've seen that, and again, you all are more aware of this than most everybody else in the communities we all live in and represent. But without students being in the classroom, we've seen the reporting of dependency, neglect, and abuse plummet. The conduct didn't stop, but the instances of reporting stopped or were substantially reduced, because teachers, who are the people on the front lines and see these things and notice these things, aren't interacting with kids every day to see it and notice it and report it. And that's a troubling concern. So regardless of the health impact of COVID, you've got the health and safety impact of not being in person that weighs on people's minds. So there will be a big debate amongst the legislature about the use of executive powers. That relates to COVID as well during a state of emergency. There was an amendment that was proposed this year in the session. It was in the House. It didn't get out of the House. I wouldn't be surprised if it came back up again in 21. It wouldn't be on everyone's ballot for ratification by the voters until 2022 in November, because you can't put a constitutional amendment on the ballot until then. But it would have allowed the legislature to call itself into session, reserve days during the regular session, so that it can call itself into an extraordinary session and not be entirely dependent on the governor to do that and to set the terms of the call for that legislative session. So it's going to be, as all short sessions are, it's going to be wild. Of course, one of the other things that hasn't been talked about, there may be changes in leadership. I haven't heard of any candidates stepping forward to challenge any of the current Senate leaders, but there may be changes in the House. I have heard rumors and whispers of that. And every other year, the caucuses re-elect or run for, new people challenge for those leadership positions. And with new leaders in either the majority or the minority caucuses, differences of opinion and leadership style can make a huge difference and make a difference in the priorities of those caucuses. So we're talking all about this now on November 4th. The picture could look mightily different come January, whatever the first day of session is, the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So I've pulled a Commissioner Glass and talked longer than I should have. Happy to answer any questions, and just invite you all to reach out and get in touch with me if I can be of help to any of you, whether I represent you or not. I'm happy to be a resource. My email address, my legislative email address, is in the global address book, which I suspect many of you still have access and can see, and those come right to me. So I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate your insights. Now we will turn it over to Representative Steve Riley, who I think is actually on site at the GRREC office. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just some more.
All right. Good to have you, Representative Riley.
Hey, I'm not dressed very well. I had to tell Bart that I was going to be in Bowling Green, so he said just to drop by instead of doing this on Zoom. So it's good to see everybody here today. And obviously, I know you guys have gone through a lot of difficulty trying to deal with the pandemic in the school systems. I want to commend the work that you've done, the work that your administration's done, and the work that your teachers have done to try to provide the best education possible for our students during extremely difficult circumstances that we never imagined that we would be under. This session is going to be interesting. I can say some of the same things Senator Westerfield did. Obviously, last year we did a one-year budget at the end because of the coronavirus. I am the chairman of the House Budget Review Subcommittee for K through 12. I felt like the House, and I think many of our other members felt like that we'd come up with a quality budget to help school systems. You know, I had a lot of conversations with Bart, with many superintendents, with Jim Flynn, Eric Kennedy, and many others about the budget. And I think most everybody felt that what we came out with the House originally was a pretty good budget. And then obviously the coronavirus came in and we had to scale that back because we did not know what the forecasts were going to be economically. And we went back to, the previous SEEK funding, and we went back to doing SEEK based upon 1819. So obviously they didn't turn out the way that any of us wanted to do that. So as we get into this session, obviously we've got to look at what the economic forecasts are going to be, and then try to come up with a one-year budget that is as good as it could possibly be during this difficult times for our school systems. I know there are a bunch of requests that have been made as far as the budget is concerned. I have not been able to get into those in depth yet. Obviously, we all had elections to run up till last night. So we'll look forward to that and see what we can do. Obviously I'm available for all of you guys at any time that you want to talk. You can email me. If you don't have my number, feel free to contact Bart or any of those folks, and they'll give that to you. But I want you to know that obviously I'm an advocate for education. I wasn't a superintendent, but I was a high school principal, and I know the difficulties you guys face. I think I heard somebody say this, and I think it's probably accurate, that that the superintendent's job in the school systems is probably the hardest one right now because of the decisions you guys have got to make. I know that's always been an extremely hard job. I was a high school principal, and I know how hard a job that was. But obviously high school principals are still going through some difficulties, but they got a lot less students now than they had when I was in. And I think most of the difficult decisions are being made by superintendents right now. And I don't envy the situation you're in to make those decisions, whether it be in school or not in school, or use some type of hybrid plan. Don't envy those at all, because I know that all of you really want your students to be in school, because I think we all realize that in-person education is way better than virtual. But you have to make difficult decisions based upon your community and the health situation for everybody. I'm more than glad to answer any questions or anything that you have at this time.
I'll step in and say, Steve, congratulations on your victory last night. I don't know how many of the 6 legislators we have speaking today had an election race last night, but I know you did, and congratulations on your victory and being able to serve some more years. I know that you love public education, and you served in it, and Scott Lewis and all our legislators here with us this morning supporting public education, but you have been on the front lines, Steve and Scott, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bart. I appreciate what you do, and excited to see you in this position.
Hey,
All right,
Steve.
thank you.
Hey, Steve, can I ask a question real quick? This is Gary Fields.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Good. Hey, so, we have all these GRREC districts on here. We talked earlier this morning, the collaboration, I think the communication among superintendents has been tremendous. It's brought us all closer together, even though we've all had to do different things for our community. And, I think all the educators from, not just when I say educators, I not only mean teachers, I mean food service people, custodians, bus drivers. I mean, everybody's been on the front line since March. I guess, I don't know if there's a question or a statement, but my concern is that we get into the session and you all look like you're going to have a super majority, the Republicans. And I worry that sometimes some in the legislature may see Jefferson County and Fayette County as representing educators in the state. And KEA and some of that, that gets a little crossways. And so I guess I just ask you, and I know you will do this because you've done it before, but when you're speaking about educators and teachers around the state that, it's this GRREC region is we don't always need to be lumped in with maybe other parts of the state that might get a little contentious with some of the leadership.
Yeah, I think sometimes, Gary, there are those in the legislature, in addition to the state as a whole, that feel like that the state revolves around the Golden Triangle, Louisville, Lexington, and Northern Kentucky. And a lot of us legislators try to emphasize that the rural area is a big part of the state. Western Kentucky, South Central Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and those areas. And we have a lot of our members in our caucus that are actually from rural areas. And right now, the leadership in education in the House is from educators that are from rural areas. Regina Huff is the chairman of the Education Committee, and she was a special ed teacher and administrator in Whitley County. And of course, obviously, Scott Lewis from Ohio County is former superintendent, obviously involved in this area, and then myself. So a lot of us that are there, that are education people, tend to be from what many people would deem the rural part of the state.
All right. Thank you, Representative Riley. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Kirk. Appreciate it. Everybody have a great day. And I do truly appreciate what all you guys are doing. It's a very, very difficult job right now.
Thank you. You too. Now we'll turn it over to Representative Scott Lewis. Are you with us, Scott?
I saw Scott Lewis' iPhone on the call at some point. We may circle back to him. I think we have some other legislators with us as well. So,
okay, I think
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having trouble here in Ohio County with this internet connection, but if you can hear me now, we can proceed.
You're coming through loud and clear. You need to talk to that superintendent of Ohio County about that last mile grant and get you some internet out to your.
Well, actually, believe it or not, I'm sitting here right in the middle of the town. That's what's so confusing, but it does happen. I won't take too long. I echo what Steve said too about there's a lot of rural leadership on the Education Committee, which is a positive, I think, for the GRREC region. And we did have a really good budget going into or before COVID hit. I was really pleased with the direction we were going there. I don't know what this session is going to look like, but we do need your all's efforts to keep continuing lobbying for education and the importance of it. And it makes a difference when you have the one-on-one contact with your legislators. So I just want to plug that in also. It's trying times. I think we picked up, we'll have 75 seats in the House. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. Sometimes, you need some of that maybe disagreement or whatever to hear everybody's side. But I'm looking forward to the session. The money's going to be tight, but from what I've seen, it's not as bad as what we thought when we left there in March. So, I'm excited to be serving again. We do need educators up there, and I think with Steve and myself and Regina Huff, all of us are on the Education Committee, and you all certainly will always have our ears. So I just look forward to working with you all, and I do truly appreciate what you do because I do know what you go through. So I think I'll wrap up there, and if you have any questions of me, I'll answer them.
Thank you, Representative Lewis. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights as well. Thank you. Who else do we have on here? Senator Mike Wilson, I think I saw on here. Senator
Yes, sir.
Wilson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, I think we're all kind of echoing a lot of the same things. That I can say that I think from my very first days in the legislature, I've been on the Education Committee. I've actually chaired it for 5 years before my election as Senate Majority Whip, and continued to be an advocate for education the whole time that I've been there. Of course, our budget is always primarily dominated by education, as it should be. And so that's one of the things that is always in the forefront of my mind every session when we're looking at our legislative priorities and things that need to be done, and especially with another year budget coming up. It's definitely going to be a challenge for us. As has already been mentioned, I think that we have the consensus forecasting group. It's going to give us some more numbers in December that we'll be able to base our budgeting off of as we look at that. It's definitely going to be hard for us because this is a 30-day session, where last year was a 60-day session. So there are a lot of other priorities. I know Senator Westerfield mentioned about limiting executive powers. You said one of the things that we did not have a plan for is we did not have a plan for a pandemic. And I think we've learned through this, and that's why we focus not just in education committee, but all of our committees, looking at what our response statewide has been to this pandemic, COVID, so that we can actually help formulate a better plan how to deal with this. Nobody knew, nobody understood how to deal with it. So a lot of things that were done that we've learned from, some good, some, adequate, but not so good. So we'll be able to go back to the drawing board and hopefully put together a plan for how to deal with that. I do appreciate Gary Fields bringing up the whole thing about, when you're looking at Jefferson County, that dominates a lot of policy in education, unfortunately. When you have 100,000 students in one school district, I mean, that's probably a little bit too much in one district. But, I'm certainly from the Bowling Green, Warren County area. I mentioned Max Wise, who is the chairman of our education committee now, is from Taylor County. He's an educator himself. And so he has a real passion for education. I think that you'll see that that'll continue to be a priority for us in regards to that. I don't know that there's much more I can add, but I'll be glad to answer any questions. I know that Whitney Westerfield mentioned about leadership. That's something that we'll have coming up if we have any, races for that, as well as the House will have some education races. And then once those are established, we'll be going into our fall retreats to help formulate our plans going forward. So those are some things that we're looking forward to. And that's about all I have today.
Thank you, Senator Wilson. We appreciate you coming on and being with us. We'll now turn it over to Senator David Givens.
Kirk, good morning, and thank you for the chance to be on here. Mr. Fleener, great to see you again, and Commissioner, shout out to you as well. I think it's appropriate to start briefly with some comments about the election last night. And the way I woke up this morning viewing that is that the citizens of Kentucky have largely trusted us in the Republican Party again, and even to a greater extent, to the chance to lead. And so what we do over the course of the next 2, 4, 6, 8 years, ever how many years we have the chance to lead, that is indicative of us continuing to earn that trust. And so I guess the quick analogy I'll use is that the owners of the land, the voters, have leased us the chance to be in this office again in a substantial majority. And I'm hoping we can create policy that continues to build on that trust and do good things. Commissioner, shout out again to you. As I do that, I want to point out you're hearing Representative Lewis and others indicate to you that the center of power in the legislature is largely in our rural education leaders, and I think you can see that. I want to do a reverse shout out though and say some of the best educators you'll ever meet are in GRREC. And as you have a chance to build relationships with people, look to these leaders to do that. I could be even more focused and say that those superintendents from Senate District 9 happens to be my district, just happens to be also some great educators. I'm not going to name names. I'd run into trouble of missing some, but I specifically saw Superintendent Thompson, Superintendent Matthews, Superintendent Hodges, and Faulkner on the call, and I appreciate their leadership in their home communities. As each of you know, when you're a superintendent, you're not just a leader of the school, you're a leader of the community. And that has such a positive impact. And thanks in advance to all of you for doing that. I'm going to do a quick touch on three things that rose to my mind this morning as I was preparing for this conversation. Those three things being something we've done, something that we should be excited about, and something that's a continuing work in progress. The first of those being the leadership that we had the chance to lead last spring on in Senate Bill 158, a piece of accountability legislation that so many of you got on board and helped us with. That school accountability legislation, where we had to meet the federal definitions around persistently low achieving schools, gave us the chance to also address some very important things in legislation, and was pleased that we arrived at a work product that I think can have a positive impact. The commissioner and I in a recent conversation had that discussion about change fatigue, and I made it a point to say to the commissioner, and I'll make it a point very respectfully to say to all of you, let's just grow accustomed to change fatigue, because change fatigue is going to be the normal. We're constantly going to be seeing us refine accountability, refine goals, refine the sorts of things that drive change. And if we can become accustomed to the challenge of change, I think we're all better for it. But shout out, first of all, to Senate Bill 158 from 2020 and all the colleagues on this call that helped us accomplish that. Why do I say change fatigue is something we've got to grow accustomed to? That's going to be the second point I want to make to you, which is something that I think we need to celebrate. I just finished a little bit of over a 2-hour meeting with university presidents and CPE as we continue to go through a legislative mandated post-secondary performance-based funding conversation. Some years ago, we passed through the General Assembly, and it was largely led by the Senate around this question of how do we take taxpayer dollars and place them into our post-secondary institutions. And for years, we'd done that on a shares basis. No attention to outcomes, no attention to performance, no attention to enrollment growth, just basically what was your percent of the pie previously? We're giving you that same percent of the pie again. In 2016, we moved to performance-based funding, basically saying as you move students to degree attainment, as you start to see degrees attained in fields that matter, as you start to challenge students that are previously not college-going students, we're going to reward you for that. As you graduate a higher percent of your attendance, we're going to reward you for that. So performance-based funding, initiated in 2016, has grown to today. We're going to do a little bit of refinement likely in the session ahead, but the numbers I want to share with you, because all of you play into this in such important ways. We've got a goal of 60 by 30, and I love goals that are North Stars. President Thompson calls this the North Star. If we can get Kentucky by the year 2030 to 60% degree and or credential attainment, that doesn't necessarily mean a bachelor's degree, but if we can do that, we'll be at the national average. We're currently in the mid to low 40s. We've got to get to 60% of our Commonwealth by 2030 having some sort of post-secondary credential. The impact economically, the impact is felt throughout corrections cost, it's felt throughout Medicaid cost, it's felt through tax revenues that increase here in the Commonwealth, back in your local districts. As the community grows, the tax base grows, your funding in the schools benefit from that. So I'm excited about that 60 by 30 target. What I want to share with you, and the achievement all of you have played a role in, is between 2015 and today, we're graduating 17% more bachelor degree attaining students. The number of bachelor's degrees produced again in Kentucky between 2015 and 2020 has risen by 17%. Each of you play a vital role in helping us move that metric in that direction. Equally and or even more exciting to me, though, is because of the incentives that we've built into this formula, we've seen in the underrepresented minority population a 37% gain in bachelor degree attainment between 2015 and 2020. We're on target to reach 60 by 30 as a result of the work that all of you are doing in those school systems. The last quick positive thought that I'll share with you, and I'm certainly open to any questions. Someone made mention of this earlier, and I think they're exactly right. We're going to see October revenues that are going to be likely 10% above what we had forecasted them to be. Don't rush out and start building buildings or buying buses yet. Don't invest in lots and lots of technology, even though I know we need it. But we're going to see potentially the chance to go in and do a budget that's going to be a little better than we had expected, and I'm hopeful that's the case. Again, thank you for all of your leadership, and certainly open to any questions.
Thank you for that information, Senator Gibbons. We appreciate your thoughts and insights as well. Does anyone have any questions for Senator Gibbons? I think we've got one more legislator with us, Representative Jason Petrie. Are you online?
I just got an email from him that he had to leave early. He apologized and said he enjoyed listening to the conversation.
Okay, thanks, Ann. And again, we want to thank all of our legislators for coming on and sharing their thoughts and information. We look forward to continuing to work with you all as the budget session comes along here in January. Thank you. We will now transition to our next guest, Chris Tyler with Thermal Equipment. Chris, are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for giving me a few minutes on here. Appreciate it. And thanks for helping me be able to speak a few minutes earlier. I'm getting ready to take my son to get his driver's test. Hopefully he passes. So as most of you know, my name is Chris Tyler. I'm CEO of Thermal Equipment Sales, as well as Bluegrass Hydronics and Pump as well. But I'm coming to you as a volunteer board member of KSPMA today. And for those who aren't familiar with KSPMA, KSPMA is the Kentucky School Plant Management Association, which is a 503c nonprofit state organization dedicated to promoting and enhancing the educational process through proper management practices related to school operations and maintenance. So membership includes superintendents, maintenance and custodial personnel, energy managers, and it's for K-12 schools as well as college and university personnel and other people employed in the school operations and maintenance. Typically, our annual conference is in October, but this year, because of coronavirus, we had to delay that. And just here recently, we did confirm the dates. It is going to be held now on Thursday, January 14th and Friday, January 15th in Lexington at the Griffin Gate Marriott. So my reason for coming to you all today is, as many of you who have been superintendents in the past are already familiar with the conference, but for veteran superintendents or new superintendents, just to ask, one, to invite you all to join us this year, but two is also to ask you all to support your facility staff if they come and ask for an opportunity to go to KSPMA. As I've said in the past, while your co-op meetings are an opportunity, or CAST, things like that, are an opportunity for you all to network with each other, KSPMA is really a great opportunity for them to not only go to breakout sessions and learn about what's happening in different technologies throughout the industry today, but also to be able to network with their peers from across the state. And that's one of the great opportunities, is just for them to have other people to reach out to and talk to when they need support. KSPMA does have 4 different people who are currently board members from your all's districts, including people from Barron County, Crittenden County, Hardin County, and Nelson County. So if you do have any questions, by all means, feel free to let me know. And other than that, just appreciate your all support and would love to have you all join. But if you can't make it, to please support your people to come to KSPMA this year in January. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you. Moving on, next on the agenda is a KDE report from Joseph McGowan.
Thank you, Kirk. And Dr. Glass did cover our KDE update today pretty good, so I won't take much time. I'll just remind everyone that our Office of Special Education and Early Learning, we have been continuing to put out a web series, and that is information and resources on how to work with students with disabilities. And that has been in collaboration with our special education cooperatives and our early childhood regional training centers. So I would just remind you of those resources and encourage you to find those on our website. We announce that every other Thursday, a new resource, but that's something that the field has appreciated. So thanks for letting me be with you today. It's very interesting to hear the information from Dr. Glass and from the legislators. And just want to thank all the superintendents for their work in the GRREC region, especially in a difficult time. Thanks, Kirk.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you. Moving along now to the LSAC report. David Raleigh, do you have anything to report there?
Sorry about that. Have my mute button on. I'm not going to take a lot of time. You guys have the document in your or the notes in your documents. Just real quickly, there were 6 new regulations that were approved with a second reading, and I think 1 new regulation that was that had a first reading. In terms of policy issues, there was an adoption of the Kentucky School for the Blind and Kentucky School for the Deaf to update policy manuals for technology centers, and the adoption of the Kentucky Tech policies those were approved unanimously. And then the rest of that particular meeting that we had was questions and answers from at the time our brand new Commissioner of Education, Dr. Glass. So that's it in a nutshell. I would much rather listen to everybody else, all the legislators, than you guys would want to hear from me. But if you have any questions about those, just let me know. Thank you.
All right, thanks, David. Moving next to the SAC report. Anybody want to talk about that? Matt Robbins, Cornelius Faulkner, Deanna Ashby.
I'll let someone else speak. I think I've missed the last couple of meetings, so if anyone else has information, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, we'll move along now to the WKU report from Dr. Murphy and Dr. Brake.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure everybody's super tired, but y'all look great, so that's good. A couple of happy announcements, a couple of moments of appreciation for what is happening and where WKU fits in, and then also we'll move over to Dr. Brake so that he can share with us the latest and greatest on our EDD program. So the first is we have been awarded, along with 3 other Kentucky partner institutions, a grant to work with KDE on continuing the pipeline for special education supervisors in the state. So we're very excited about that. We know that there's always a shortage in that particular personnel category, and those are leaders that are pretty influential within our districts and we rely on very heavily. So we're excited about that opportunity. You know, one of the things that I continue to think about every day and every night is that we don't in this moment get to skip the class of graduating new teachers. We don't get to skip the junior year of advanced clinical experiences that our students are having as in their initial preparation programs. I'm seeing what you all are having to deal with every day as far as how you manage the districts, how you are working with your teachers or teacher shortages as a function of the quarantine. And it just puts even more emphasis on the idea that we have to successfully educate this group of teachers, this group of new teachers, to be prepared to join you feet running as soon as they get to your district. So we are continuing to prioritize field experiences, and we thank our partner schools greatly for allowing our students to work with you on the same kind of, whether it's virtual or in-person field experience and student teaching opportunities, because we do have to get those students graduated and out to you in a way that provides you a fantastic teacher. So we are prioritizing juniors and seniors in the schools. We have taken freshmen, for the most part, out of the schools, and they are participating in observational fields via virtual learning. And so we hope that's a level of pressure that we've relieved from you, but been able to mitigate the idea that we have a responsibility to make sure that these students, these WKU students, are in the schools learning how to be teachers. So we are working on that. To that point, thank you, GRREC, of course, for partnering with us on the GRREC job fair. Many students have gotten a job. Many students are working with you all on the idea that we're getting you a job. Paul Mullins, we're going to work on getting you a PR person. We're almost there on that. And in the spring, we have 170 student teachers coming to you in a variety of different places. And so we are hoping that you will consider them a teacher within your district and a staff member. And that's how we are sharing with them that they should act as far as the pandemic circumstances that they'll be dealing with. And earlier today, we talked a lot about how every district is different. We are preparing our students right now for the idea that their experience will be different than what their peers' experience will be in a different school, in a different district. So we are working on that. The other thing that we have done as far as new teachers is we've virtualized, because that's now a verb, we've virtualized New Teacher Academy. And so if you recall, New Teacher Academy is our induction program that many of your districts are participating in. It is somewhat the replacement for KTIP at this point. We have built regional clusters of multiple districts, and we're working with those districts in a cohort model that also allows the districts to continue to inform what we're doing with these new teachers. So that's great. But even better than all of those things is we're actually, New Teacher Academy starting in the fall will be a credit-bearing experience. So students who are participating in New Teacher Academy will earn graduate credit towards their master's degree, which is terrific. And then the spring 2021 WKU graduates will actually be entered into a graduate course, which is classroom management and positive learning environments for first-year teachers. So when they get hired by your districts as a WKU alumna or alumnus, they will be enrolled in that graduate course. And so for districts that are participating in New Teacher Academy, as well as hiring our WKU students, their new teachers will be well on their way into their master's degree within that first year. So we're excited about those opportunities. And we continue to layer and integrate the needs of your districts into those graduate programs. We expect to maintain the $350 credit hour rate, which has been huge. And we have seen a lot of growth of teachers taking advantage of that. Again, that's for any course at the graduate level at the university, with the exception of doctoral programs. But Dr. Brake is here to talk to us about how we are taking the EDD into a special cohort model that will continue to further integrate the needs of your districts and be at an accessible price point for your leaders. So, Dr. Brake.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I wish I could be with you all in person. I miss being around you all. I have observed since my retirement as a superintendent and watched in awe of the challenges and the grace and the way that you guys have handled it. I go one beyond Benny and many of the others, saying that honestly, the superintendents and the college presidents in this country, I think, have the toughest jobs, not just in education, but the toughest jobs in the country right now. So you guys are really showing your mettle and doing terrific jobs in all the communities. But I'm here today to talk about how we look at training that next generation of leadership. And I'm very proud to have joined WKU as the director of the doctoral program. And we're in the process. I know many of you in the GRREC region are graduates, and we have had a great track record, I think, of preparing the kind of leadership at the school and the district level. but we're really in the process of making some changes, I think, that are going to be really helpful to serving the districts and really moving our program in alignment with the Carnegie model that makes it very practitioner oriented. And so we'll be launching a closed cohort this summer that will be entirely focused on P12 school and district level leaders that are interested in pursuing their doctorate. This program is really going to focus. It's going to be a hybrid program, so it'll be partly on campus and partly online. And the emphasis will be leading diverse learners. And so it's going to be an interdisciplinary effort involving special education, involving dealing with students in different levels of socioeconomics, race, giftedness, and many of the challenges that we deal with in diversity today. And so the applications are open. I've placed at the top of the chat window, before we started today, I've placed the link to our program. And we have had a lot of interest so far, but it's going to be open through probably February. The good thing about this is that we're going to allow 15 credits to transfer in. And so those that are interested in transferring in or seeking their superintendents, their principalship, their special ed directors can transfer a lot of those in. And as Dr. Murphy said, we're also working, and we hope to announce in the coming days and weeks some additional tuition options for students in this cohort that I think will give them a little bit of a break as well. And so I'm excited about this. We hope to start it. We will start it this summer. But one of the other things that I also hope to involve you all with is because this is a practitioner focus, we are going to be looking at identifying district problems of practice. And so we're going to invite a lot of our districts into the residency program with this new cohort this summer, and hopefully have a discussion with academic leaders, special education leaders, and district leaders about some of the real district problems of practice that will then in turn translate to dissertation and practice studies that can really be beneficial for the folks in your district that want to pursue this, but also actually doing action research that can benefit your district. So I'm excited about that. I will also put a link to the brochure. I think you have the brochure in your packet, but I'm going to go ahead and put a web link to that brochure in the text chat box. And I'll also include my email address if anybody wants to get a hold of me. I would just ask you to think about sharing this, and also if each district would think about tapping one or two people in your district that you feel like would be a great fit for this. I think it would be a tremendous opportunity for us to collaborate at the GRREC level and at our district levels in training the new group of leaders. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate Dr. Murphy giving me a few minutes of her time.
Thank you, Nick. And I think it's wonderful having Nick on board, as he has sat in the seat that you all sit in and can bring to the program that nuanced approach to how best to support your district staff and next group of leaders. And I also want to give a shout out to everybody who is chatting in the chat box right now about their experience within the EDD program and the potential that it has. So anybody who has any questions, feel free to reach out to Rob Clayton, and of course, Nick Brake, and any number of our alumni. We're so proud of all of our alumni. We celebrate you a lot on Twitter. It's one of our favorite things to do. So Bart, thank you for the extra time today. If anybody has any questions about anything, let us know.
Okay, thank you, WKU, for the information. Sounds like some exciting opportunities. Thanks again. We will now transition to Dr. Jim Flynn with KASS.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for giving me a little time. I'm going to try to go pretty quick there. Let's see. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. Thanks, Kurt. All right, just a quick update on our advocacy priorities and strategies, and then a little bit on the conference. And first, I want to say well done to the GRREC team. I appreciate everybody who helped make that happen. And thank you, Bart, for helping coordinate a great press event to release our priorities. You've seen this before, but as you've already heard from legislators and others this morning, you know, the budget's going to be the big thing in a short session. It's never happened before, and that's certainly going to be our big priority. Also, in my last update, I sent you some information, more details about the TRS work group for looking at a new tier of benefits, but I also sent you a list of items that we're really negotiating on in that, but we're continuing to do that work. And some of you have kind of reached out and asked me questions about it, but I encourage you, if you have questions or opinions, don't hesitate to see me on that as well. And we'll continue to get information to you as that develops. We also, in the roundtable, talked briefly a little bit about you know, the election, and some of you have new legislators, and I encourage you to reach out to them, introduce yourself, share our agenda and priorities, and let them know that you'll be a resource around education policy matters, and certainly don't hesitate to encourage them to reach out to me if they need more information or if you need my help with them. But on our website, if you go to our 2021 legislative advocacy priorities, you can see our priority summary, and you can also see a more detailed list of priorities. Feel free to use those as you see fit and share those with legislators and others who can help you along the way. We have been implementing our strategies for advocacy, and again, well done on the coordinated press conferences. And today you've been meeting with legislators as well. But I encourage you between now and the start of the session to reach out to your actual legislative delegates and talk to them about our priorities, particularly the budget issues. We don't know yet what the parameters will be in Frankfurt, but if we can be there for committee meetings and to meet with our legislators in Frankfurt, we'll put a plan out in coordination with the co-ops on that. And then I will mention that Greg and I are willing and able to help anyway. Here's our contact information if you need us. And I encourage you to use Greg. You know, he's a great lobbyist and knows everyone and can give you advice if you need. And certainly I can do my best as well. Finally, I'll just mention the conference. We're really excited about how it's lining up. We're going to be at the downtown Marriott in Louisville, and it's a much larger venue than we've been accustomed to. So we'll have plenty of room to social distance, but yet be together safely to learn and network and have some fellowship and fun. And so if you haven't registered already, do so. But we've got a great lineup. We're really excited to have Michael Fullen and his colleague Joanne Quinn with us on Monday morning of the conference for the deeper learning leadership, looking for those silver linings and attractive alternatives that these disruptions have provided, like the pandemic and also the racial and social justice issues, and certainly on the advocacy leadership front, we'll be working on that. But having Dr. Fullen and Dr. Quinn with us will be really great. We also have some excellent thought leader breakouts with district teams to share their work and some other folks there. And our luncheon speaker will be William Blackford, dynamic speaker. We'll be talking about equity and racial justice leadership. And then on the opening night, we'll have our new commissioner, Dr. Glass, who will be our keynote, be recognizing some other folks that night. So, and then having our first ever CAS dinner sponsored by the Roberts Insurance and RSA advisors. And so we're really excited about that there at the hotel. No one has to travel that night to try to get out to restaurants. And we're also going to have some comic relief as part of that dinner. And then on Tuesday morning, we'll be focusing on our advocacy leadership for the education policy efforts in Frankfurt, and certainly the budget will be our big thing, but we're going to have a federal update as well, and a budget update from the state as well. So if you haven't already registered, it's going to be a great conference for professional learning, networking, fellowship, and fun. And then we also are having our second annual Aspiring Superintendent Strand to develop the next generation of superintendents. We've already had quite a few registrants in that strand, but I encourage you, if you're developing someone on your team, they must be invited by their superintendent to participate in this. So if you have someone, bring them along, and we'd love to have them. Finally, I'll just close again, as always, how important it is for us to coalesce and lead from a common voice on our priorities, and then how important it is to keep telling your stories about the great work in our schools by our students, our staff, our communities, and our families. And remember, if we don't tell the story, someone else will. So let's continue to lead the way. But if I can help you, don't hesitate to reach out, and appreciate having a little time this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. We look forward to the annual conference coming up in December. Next, we have Matt McCarty with KSBA.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple of things real quick. One, just want to ask everyone to check with your board members to make sure they've got all their training hours as the year is quickly coming to an end. You can reach out to Laura Cole at KSBA to get a report of your board members' hours to see if they're missing any. And there is still some opportunities. We have our final Learn and Earn of the year next Wednesday. All the previous Learn and Earns and other training sessions are available for self-study if board members need to do that. And there's a form on our website, ksba.org. The big way for them to get training hours is our Winter Symposium, which will be also at the Louisville Marriott downtown. It's December 4th and 5th. And our two speakers for that, we've got Dr. Glass is one of our general session speakers, and Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams is our other general session. And the other thing to kind of know about Winter Symposium, if you have any new board members that were elected yesterday, they're able to attend Winter Symposium and get a jump start on their hours for 2021. We have a new board member boot camp, which is a track of 6 training sessions that really helps prepare them to hit the ground running when they are sworn in January. So if you have any, I encourage you to at least make sure they're aware that they can attend that. And registration is open, so you can go to our website and register, see all of the training opportunities there. I know Dr. Constant at Owensboro is doing is doing a training session, so there are a lot of opportunities there. And then finally, just a reminder that if your school board has any vacancies, whether it's through a resignation or if just had a seat that didn't have anybody file for that's empty, the KSBA has resources to help your board fill that vacancy. So just keep that in mind and reach out to Laura Cole or anybody here really that if you want more information on that. That's all I've got today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. We appreciate you and everything that KSBA does for our school districts. Moving along to items not on the agenda, questions from superintendents, agenda items for future meetings. Does anyone want to add anything in that section of our agenda? If not, I think Bart wants to introduce our new General Services Director.
Yes, thank you, Kirk, and thank you all for your attention this morning. I know you're stretched very thin, getting pulled in lots of different ways. I want to let you know Max Wise does have plans to be with us December 16th, and I think Dan Costello, our new General Ed Services Director, is going to be doing a presentation on GRREC Ed on December 16th as well. We've been doing Zoom meetings, and we've had lots of your educators on, and over 30 applications completed already for GRREC Ed, our CEO rank change program. Dan, you get to take it over and you get to try to bring us to a close. When you're done, you swing it to Kirk and we'll adjourn this thing.
Sounds great. Well, that puts me in a hot seat. I've got to be quick here. So I will just say, first of all, thanks to Bart and everybody here for giving me an opportunity. GRREC is a place that I've always enjoyed coming to and I always learn something from. Every time I leave here, I can take something back to my district. So excited about this opportunity, and superintendents and guests, if there's any way I can serve you in the future going forward in my various roles, then please let me know. We're super excited about GRREC Ed. Bart said we've got over 30 applicants. We've actually got 37 as of this morning. So we're looking forward to starting with at least 3 cohorts in January. And we're excited about the opportunity this provides not only for our educators, but for student achievement. We know this is going to impact learning and instruction. And so we're really excited about that. We met with your points of contact for your district for GRREC Ed on Monday. And I'm getting ready to send them an email that's got a few more details that they can share with certified people in your district. So just encourage you to talk this up and let people know about it. I know you all have heard about this over the past year or so, but again, we're really looking forward to the opportunity this is going to provide our educators in our district and across the state as well. So we'll follow up with you in December with some more details and let you know where we are in this process. Kurt?
All right, thanks, Dan. We appreciate you as well. Our next board meeting will be December 16th. If there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Dr. Pam. Need a second?
Second, Paul Mullins, Logan County.
Thanks, Paul. All in favor say aye.
Aye.